wearing a jacket from a company called Opening Ceremony, who are celebrating the fact that this country is a diverse group of different nations and cultures. And with these varsity jackets, they represent all of the people who make up America. And this one is from Nepal. So if you want to know more about it, it's really interesting what they're doing.
And the back
Show
of it
the
is
back.
fabulous.
The back. So, see the eyes? And they're being sold literally around the world. Opening Ceremony has done this. And these are children of immigrants who have put this company together that's been around 17 years. And I just, I was with them last night, and I was like, I'm wearing my jacket. I'm wearing my jacket. But then I realized it's hot out here, so I'm taking my jacket off.
I got my eye on you with that. I'm watching. I don't want to watch.
So, as I'm sure you all are aware, Donald Trump had his first press conference since winning the election. But he wasn't willing to talk to everybody. He shut down CNN, who broke the story about the report about, Russia having scandalous info on him. Take a look.
Much in there. There's so much in there.
So, what do you think?
I mean, I worked at CNN for 6 years, and I know Jim Acosta. He is an excellent reporter. He is above reproach, and the way that he was treated by our president-elect was inappropriate. And I'm angry about that. And I think we should all be concerned about that exchange that we just saw, because it's about freedom of the press.
Yeah, that's right.
And for our president-elect to call someone who is a journalist from a reputable news organization a fake journalist and fake news is something that is terrifying.
Well, and they're conflating something here. There's a difference between CNN and what they reported and what BuzzFeed reported. And by grouping them together, which they often do. Okay, well, CNN, this might get into the two in the lead. CNN had reported that there was the president and president-elect had been briefed about this report.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
About his personal behavior in Russia.
No,
it didn't even go into that. It didn't even go into that. It just said there's a report, and it was important enough that President-elect Trump and President Obama have been briefed on this.
Right.
BuzzFeed saw that they had done that, and this 35-page dossier that's been, all the media had. No one had reported on it because they didn't have enough to back it up.
Right.
BuzzFeed, I think, saw CNN and said, we're just going to put it out there.
Right.
Well, that made the decision without seeing.
Well, and it might not have been. That's the chronology. CNN came out first, and BuzzFeed did that. However, they decided to do that. Now, I do think perpetuating fake news when you're a media outlet or one that has not been corroborated or checked is irresponsible.
It's not fake news, it's unsubstantiated news.
Or unsubstantiated.
It's a difference. Fake news is when you deliberately put something that's false out there.
Oh, sorry. No, you're right, because that's the distinction I wanted to make. So, when you have uncorroborated or unsubstantiated, among journalists and media, it is not responsible to put it out there. Right. So I actually agree with that. And I do think also making the distinction, it's kind of a public service announcement. You're right. Fake news is when you have an intention to mislead and misinform. News you disagree with, which is often what President-elect Trump and Kellyanne Conway often refer to all media as fake news, which is also diluting the power of and the kind of injustice of fake news.
And our Constitution.
I had a big problem with what BuzzFeed did initially, just because they came out and said, this stuff is unverified, this stuff has not been corroborated by anyone, but here's all the information. And as soon as that information hits with all of its details and specifics, it's hard to unsee that stuff. It's hard to not...
Julian Assange in a fun way.
Right, exactly. Only the difference there was, that was Julian Assange, who people consider, he's allied with Russia. This is BuzzFeed is an organization that is American. That comes from us. And that makes people think, hold on a second, your allegiance should be to the truth and our standards of ethical journalism. And Julian Assange doesn't live by those standards. No. What I did do, though, is I looked into CNN. And I read the CNN report, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What I also did was I compared what CNN said with respect to this and what they said about WikiLeaks. And they gave a very similar take on both, which is that they didn't get into heavy specifics. They said these are allegations. If you read the report, there's nothing wrong here. So it's incumbent upon Trump, though, to make the distinction. Yes, you can have a problem with BuzzFeed, but don't make a generalized statement about the mainstream media and group CNN in for something that they didn't do wrong.
Does anybody see the irony? I mean, that may be true. All of this is true. But how about the irony of a fake billionaire with a fake tan and a fake university and a fake foundation worried about fake news? Can I just say also that this invocation of Nazi Germany that he did in one of his tweets, oh, it's like Nazi Germany, and then he stifles a reporter from asking a question. That's right out of the playbook of Joseph Goebbels, okay? Read your history.
Well, that's, history, it's my sticking point. And when you have journalists seeing these kinds of, little thumb things that are happening, they're starting to look at each other and go, you know what? I don't care what side of the line we're all journalists.
Yeah.
And our job is to seek the truth. And I think that has been an important thing that's happened, because there has been enough innuendo put out and just run with.
Yes.
And people have to start to really listen when somebody says fake news. You need to question that. Is it fake because you don't want me to hear this? Or is it fake because, it doesn't make any sense that there's a white slavery ring in the back of a pizzeria in the middle of D.C.?
Right.
I mean,
that was the fake news.
That was fake news.
So that was put out against Hillary.
But the idea that no one questioned it before someone almost got killed. Yeah. So it's important for us to question. Now, Trump's counselor, Kellyanne Conway, she continued slamming CNN on CNN, on Anderson Cooper's show.
Good for her.
Where they're claiming, she's claiming they crossed the line, just like BuzzFeed, who posted the report. Take a look.
Yeah.
She works for him, that's her job.
She's a smart lady, and I like her, but she's wrong here. And all she has to do, all she has to do.
Not the first
but
time.
it's really simple. That she just has to Google find the report. I mean, I read it. All you have to do is
You're thinking that she hasn't read it yet.
Yeah,
the bottom line is she not only has read it, she's a spin doctor.
I want to
She's
follow
just
up.
spinning it.
Something Whoopi said before is key, because when this happened to CNN, I used to work at Fox News. I was ecstatic to see Shep Smith of Fox News come out and back CNN up. And what you're both saying, freedom of the press is integral to a democracy, to a republic, which is what we live in. And to see media organizations, it's okay, I think, we've argued this here. I do believe there is media bias. I believe that's real. But you cannot group everyone together. You cannot hold CNN accountable for something that BuzzFeed did. And it's incumbent upon journalists everywhere to join together and say, freedom of the press is integral to our democracy. And if you're not gonna allow for that, we're gonna make sure you allow for that.
Wait, we can keep going.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
Still ahead, Rubio roars. How he tore into Trump's pick for Secretary of State. Will it put his confirmation in...
Hey, welcome back. Everybody was just about to make a point, and I had to shut it down, but it's back up.
Okay. Well, one thing is I was watching that interview last night with Kellyanne Conway and Anderson Cooper, and I found it so frustrating to watch, because the new red herring for Kellyanne Conway is anything the media. Every time, it used to be Hillary, but every time they need a substantial answer to a question, they go to the media.
Right.
Now, the problem here is, in addition to the categories we spoke of, fake news with bad intention, news you disagree with, there are also Trumpisms. And this is one thing, when you watch his press conference, the misspoken facts, but also Kellyanne Conway. In that conversation, she proceeded to group the media, which we are all separate entities, all of these stations. She mentioned CNN and BuzzFeed, then Late Night with Seth Meyers to prove her point against Anderson Cooper about CNN. He's on NBC. And then she goes in to quote a reporter from Politico. So if you watch back, she's trying to defend herself against CNN, and she proceeds to use 3 different news outlets to make a point that was false, because Anderson then finished the interview by pulling up the link she kept quoting throughout the whole interview, and they walked you through his screen grab. The interview, she tweeted out to say, look, they did this. When you click on the link, it leads to an interview talking about something that has nothing to do with what she's talking about.
Because Anderson is so good. He's
it was a slam dunk.
He's so good. And the one thing that I wanted to say is, and we brought it up at our Hot Topics meeting, we're going to see this happening again and again and again with journalists.
We've seen it happen.
Yeah,
it's nothing new.
and I think what journalists...
And then Watergate followed, so you better be careful.
And I think what journalists need to do is, when that happens again, and Jim Acosta doesn't get his question, that very next reporter must ask Jim's question.
Yeah.
And that way, Donald Trump knows that we are united. As Donald Trump then knows that we are united as journalists. And journalists, we are now, and I think we all know this, on the front lines, and we must be jealous guardians of our democracy. We must do that.
You know who the next news outlet was that asked, though, and they weren't going to ask his question? He went right to Breitbart. So they're not going to probably do Jim Acosta.
You know what they need to do with Trump and his lies? Every time he speaks, he needs to swear on the Bible. Every single time. Every press
that's not help.
Well, then they can
Like
get
2
wait a second.
Corinthians
Then they can get him for perjury.
Go ahead.
Later on.
The problem with that, I think that's right, and I think journalists have also been known on occasion to get up and walk out together. But the issue is that Trump says, you know what, they have to cover me. They have to cover me, and he feels that no matter what he does, people are going to be eager for the story. So you know what, then they'll go to his Twitter. He feels like he has access to be covered no matter what.
You know what?
There has to be some kind of consequence for this, though. So journalists have to say, you know what, we're going to get up and leave, and we're not going to talk about you today.
That's what he wants.
No, you know what?
He doesn't want to deal with the
maybe it is fewer journalists coming out, because if because he wants everybody. He wants, that's why Kellyanne is on this show and this one's on this show. But you know what? Twitter gets lonely, I think, for him.
Give him
I
3
think he
people.
gets very lonely with Twitter. And I think if that was all he had to look forward to, it might change. But you know what? He is who he is. And you can't change these stripes. He doesn't care. He will say what he needs to say. No one has said didn't happen. A lot of them say this didn't happen, but a lot of us said, hey, a lot of that stuff didn't happen. So what did they do? They said it happened. So we're going to be rising above that. We're going to wait and see what goes on.
He does not have a high approval rating right now. His approval rating is low. And when he says the only people who want to see his tax returns are reporters, that's not true either.
No, it's not.
The majority of Americans want to see them.
Well, and it's important that we do. And now, more than ever, because those ties to Russia, that Russian money can be cleared up very quickly with your tax return.
That's why he doesn't want you to see them.
And so for all of those folks who say, you guys don't know what you're talking about, we actually do. Now, Trump's pick for Secretary of State, former Exxon CEO and Putin pal. I like saying that. A Putin pal. That's like a little doll.
The toy you get. The big toy for next Christmas.
That's it, for next Christmas. Putin pal.
He hatches out of an egg.
Rex Tillerson. He was grilled by the Senate yesterday, especially by Donald's former rival and possible, presidential candidate in the future, Senator Marco Rubio. Take a look.
Well, good for little Marco.
Yeah, really good for Marco. I just wish he had been as tough on Jeff Sessions. He says, Jeff understands the threat our nation faces, including radical Islamic terrorists within our borders, illicit drugs destroying our communities. I'm confident he will make protecting our neighborhoods a top priority.
About what? Jeff Sessions? That's what he said.
That's what he said about, So on one hand, he's right there and he's in it, but it's like, dude, really?
Rubio has a tendency to go after brutal dictators. He has no patience for Putin. He has no patience for the Castro regime. He has no patience for people who suppress the rights of individuals.
So when you say that, you're not saying that he doesn't recognize that
Jeff Sessions tries to suppress the rights of African Americans.
I just think they pick their battles, honestly. I think that he says, you know what, this guy, I'm going to go after this one, and then maybe somebody else will pick up that fight. I think that it's just, you can't fight
everything. He asked him, do you think that Putin is a war criminal? The list is long in this world, okay?
Yeah,
Not
he
just
is.
Putin.
He's right, but Putin is on that list. This is a guy who, everybody knows what's gone on in Aleppo, except maybe Gary Johnson, but everybody knows that there has been the slaughter.
Can you liked him once?
Slaughter. I like his libertarian philosophies, but I said I can't vote for him.
That romance ended quickly.
This is a guy, Putin, his military has gone in there and has killed innocent civilians repeatedly. You have over 400,000 people dead. You have political dissidents in jail in Syria. What is left to say? Yes, he is a war criminal. That's the answer. It's really simple.
Yeah, but Trump never says anything bad about Putin. All he does is say bad things about Meryl Streep.
But this is Tillerson.
But Tillerson, you know why Tillerson can't say it?
Wait. We'll be right back.
You were discussing Tillerson and why he didn't come out and call Putin a war criminal. And he really can't do that because in 2013, he received Russia's Order of Friendship. So it's the highest award that a United States civilian can get awarded. And the reason he got awarded this big deal award is because of an energy deal he made with Russia about a drilling program in the Arctic. But the United States started sanctioning Russia because of its invasion of Crimea, and Crimea, and that is why
That's why Rubio asked him the question, though, because he knows all this. And he also asked him if he would reverse the executive orders that puts heavy sanctions on those who have already compromised our cybersecurity. And he couldn't answer that either.
You know, the two people that have been vetted, Jeff Sessions and Tillerson, a lot of what they're saying disagrees with the head honcho, Trump.
Yeah.
So how
said his name.
How is that?
He just won't say president.
I won't say president. But how is that going to work? How does that work when they have to work together? Exactly, because they disagree on a...
You're going to take the next 365 days to find out.
Yeah.
What you're seeing, though, you see,
Well,
you know...
they say they disagree. See, I'm not 100% sure. I believe
People who, like, look at Republicans and say they'll pull them all together, they're not. This is what you're seeing. Look, Marco Rubio, Republican, holding Tillerson accountable. Rand Paul coming out and saying, you can't repeal Obamacare unless you have a replacement that day, and here's my plan. So please, you know, just keep an open mind and know that there are Republicans that are holding your Republican future president-elect responsible.
Absolutely. Watch Marco Rubio vote for Tillerson. Just watch.
Yeah. Do you think Marco Rubio would vote for Tillerson?
She's making a good point. I agree with you.
I could be wrong.
Give credit where it's due, and I've said for a long time, just because you have a Republican future president does not mean that everyone falls in line. And what you're seeing is that they're not falling in line.
Well, we'll see, because, you know, for lots
Well, this isn't falling in line.
Well, but this isn't, but other things are. The fact that Marco Rubio... Well, I'm sorry, you know, there's a lot of stuff for me with these people that have been chosen that are huge points. And to me, that they don't see, that they didn't question Jeff Sessions and say, listen, what makes you think you're more qualified now than you were the last time? And when you listen, or you go and find out what John Lewis said, because I'm not going to tell you, it's spectacular. Yes. It is spectacular. And we'll put it up on the website, because it's way too long for anyone to read. But it's magnificent and really didn't get covered. And John Lewis is somebody who knows what this man was like in the beginning, in the middle, and now.
And also the things he said when Trump was running. Don't jive with what he said the other day.
It's a whole thing. But, you know, we're watching. The American people are watching. And I think we're smart enough to see the reality of what it really means now that he's here. The monster has arrived. We'll be right back.
I love your side-eye.
So your boyfriend may be micro-cheating on you, or your girlfriend, depending on, you know, what you're into. According to the website Thought Catalog, they listed red flags like following too many women on social media or downplaying how attractive his co-worker is.
This is Sonny's story.
This is hard-hitting stuff, y'all.
Sonny,
I know.
hit it on Sonny.
Yeah, I think my husband micro-cheated because he always describes the people that he works with as very unattractive. And there was this one woman, he was like,
sure they'll be happy to hear that.
Exactly.
Give her a different name.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, so he started talking about Pookie and how Pookie never combed her hair. And so we went to a party, and I was like, who is that gorgeous woman? She looks like a supermodel. He was like, oh, that's Pookie. I was like, that's the one that combed her hair? Are you kidding me? It was fascinating to me. I think intentionally describes every woman around him as very unattractive.
Yeah, because he don't want to hear your mouth.
Now you're questioning every other Pookie in his life.
I know.
No. Max is on a little email thread with two people from work, a woman, Kara, and a guy named Ted. And I will see him giggling in bed, like literally like, hee hee, and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh, Kara and Ted. Like, they have this little group that just, I guess Ted makes it, because there's another.
Makes it safe.
Yeah, Ted makes it safe.
Ted makes it a safe place. Full disclosure, though, Ted
You know what? Nothing is safe. That's true. Nothing is safe. You don't know if Ted makes a thing.
It is funny, though. They all have inside jokes, looks. They finish each other's sentences. Something happens. He's like, I'm going to write to Ted and Karen. I'm always like, Max, seriously? I'm right here. Like,
that might get on my nerves.
Well, that's shop talk, though, right?
Cute.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah.
My big thing is when they're on this list, it says reaching out to a girl who's just a friend for recommendation or advice. For me, if there's a female that becomes your confidant, someone you go to when you have a problem, and that's not your girl, you gotta go.
Emotional
you gotta,
affair.
There's an emotional affair.
yeah.
And I think you have to trust your man. I think there's truth to that if you're dating someone, you have to trust them, but you also can't be blind. You have to, if your guy's doing stuff that doesn't make any sense, if it's after work hours and it's drinks and you know it's repeated and you're not invited and this, just pay attention. Like know when to trust them and know when to be like, dude,
keep your eyes
I
out.
like this one, giving a waitress or an obscenely large tip just because she's hot. I must date cheap guys because I've never experienced that one. That's a new one.
That's a micro
So what do you do? Now, what do you do if the person you with has had female friends that are not his girlfriends, but they've always been pals?
That's fine.
What's the issue?
I think if they're appropriate, what I found, if there's a history of them just being friends and there's no history of them having been intimate or if that girl, pay attention to how that girl treats you. Because if it's genuinely someone who's their female friend, they're going to want to get to know his woman. They're going to want to...
Not necessarily.
That's my experience.
They're not going to want to be seen as being invasive or stepping in his space.
Oh, so
I think you have to think about
But when they meet you, how they treat you, I think is indicative.
I think they're just going to meet you and treat you the regular way. What you can't do...
You're playing it.
They could be playing it.
And they could be not. Because if people, I think if people are going to cheat, they've already done it.
Yeah.
When you meet this, that's why you can't assume it's going to go in that direction. We're very cynical people. But cynical or not, we will be right back.
Hi everyone, Charlie Sheen here, and I'm about to join the lovely ladies of the View to discuss a few current events and perhaps even the latest antics of Donald J. Trump. Man, I just wish people in the public eye could behave themselves.
I'm very proud to say this man has been a really kind of deep friend of mine for probably 30 years. And I'm thrilled he's making us laugh again in the new movie, Mad Families. And I'm even more thrilled that he's here with us live today. Please welcome the fabulous Charlie Sheen. I saw you.
May I just say one thing?
Yes, please do.
Somebody call the hottie police because clearly there's been a jailbreak in Babeville.
Babeville.
Hold on. Finally, the odds are in my favor. This got awkward fast. Wow.
Darling, last time I saw you, we were making
up. I just kissed 5 women, and there's no deposition at the end of it.
Very funny.
Thank you. Awesome.
So, we made a movie recently. That's the last time I saw you. But
you were awesome. You were awesome. Thank you.
We were all awesome. We had a good
Remember
time.
when she wasn't here for that 1 week? Yeah.
I was with you.
She was stuck with this guy. Yeah.
When was that? Last year.
Yeah. But we can't talk about it now because people's memories are really at times diffused.
Challenged.
Like, yes. Yeah. So we got to talk about the thing that's like on tonight.
Yes.
And not the thing that's on like
in a year from now.
Yeah.
what's on
Yes.
tonight?
Yes.
It's in your notes.
I'm I'm too busy with other things.
You mean
You and me both.
Are you talking about Mad Families?
That's what we're talking about, yes, yes,
Well,
yes.
Sarah, ask him your magic question.
Well, this is a comedy about three families: a white family, a Mexican family, a black family.
Right, okay, cool.
And they all go into a bar. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And you're
I'm part of the white family.
okay. And see, I didn't want to assume, but
Yeah.
you guys are spending some time on a vacation together, and we have the humor is often kind of at your expense, by the way. But I think we have a clip to take.
The hell else is new?
Now, you're also an executive producer on it. What drew you to this script?
It was an opportunity to work with a company that quell the timidity of the times that we are currently mired in. You can't say anything. It's like, good morning.
Well, we say plenty over here. We say plenty over here. And we talk about, you know who a lot.
Got it,
Trump.
yeah.
And
did you know?
I have two questions.
Did you know that Crayola this morning announced they're removing orange from their traditional package?
Crayolas? Oh, that's very good of them.
Nailed it.
Let me ask you something. In all your,
So stupid. Sorry.
It was. In all your experience, Charlie, have you ever run into him at the Moscow Ritz-Carlton? At the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow? Have you run into him at all?
No, I got stuck in that flea bag called Mar-a-Lago, and it's like the Playboy Mansion with rickets.
Really?
And going to a commercial. No. And
Mar-a-Lago you're
yeah,
talking
there you
about?
go. Yeah. And
It seems so beautiful. It looks like the Palace of Versailles. What are you talking about?
it's wow. I want us to stay on the air right now. No, but he gave me fake cufflinks at a dinner.
Oh,
Yeah, he said they were Harry Winston and worth 100,000 with platinum and
you believe that fake
and
news?
flawless D's. They were they were barely cheap pewter and flawed CZs.
Really? But you say he's not going to last 4 more years. What's your evidence?
I'm just quoting the brilliant mind of Aaron Sorkin that he said in that brilliant letter to his daughter and her mother that he will commit an impeachable crime in his first 12 months.
We figured that could happen, too.
That happened at birth.
Yeah, could happen.
Sorry.
Charlie, I have to ask you about your tweets because you're famous for your tweets. You tweeted that you and Ted Cruz should be running mates on the 2020 presidential ticket. Talk to me about this. Look, it's right there. I see it.
I'll bring the winning.
You bring the awesome over.
When I got lambasted for the thing about Trump, it was right after Christmas, and it was just a 5-year-old like stomping his foot because he didn't get the president he wants, you know. No one understood the joke, and so, but the only guy that reached out, like respectfully and with like biting comedic panache, was Theodore Cruz, man. So I wrote back, and he wrote back, and it's all cool.
Were you being sarcastic in that?
No, I mean,
Ted Cruz has a sense of humor.
just in my experience, he's really been nice to me, and I you know, politics aside, he seems like a nice man. I don't know.
Yeah, he is.
Charlie. So,
I don't want to...
this is turning it a little into a serious thing, but you were diagnosed with HIV. It's been about a year since you've come out.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I feel really good. I feel really good. Thank you. I'm a bit jet lagged and a little fatigued, but not bad for a sick guy, right?
You look great. You don't look sick. Being sick, you don't look sick.
I am currently carrying the torch through the middle of an FDA drug trial study to deliver a drug called Pro 140, which is a global game changer.
Yes. Really? Why? What's it going to do? Eliminate?
It's, you know the commercials where the side effects are longer than like the creative part?
Most commercials, yeah.
So when I'm, you know, if they make me the spokesperson, whatever, that'd be cool as hell. But I'll be like, side effects include nothing.
Really?
There are none. There's no migraines, dementia, poopy pants, any of it. Yeah.
So when are they going to do it?
That's That's incredible. So you're...
It's a company called Cytidine.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So
Yes.
we have time for this question?
I
Because I want to ask you, the last time, your last time we were on the show was shortly after your public meltdown. Do you remember that? In 2011?
Oh, that little thing, yeah.
You ranted about, you were ranting about Tiger Blood and
Wow.
Adonis
Hold on.
DNA.
Now I'm-
Remember that?
now-
Is it coming back?
Now I'm sweating. Now I'm sweating like me at a drug test.
But you blamed it. Wait a second. That's funny. But you blamed it.
you.
That's a good one. You blamed it on testosterone cream you were
Yeah,
using.
yeah.
Really? Is that all that was going on,
I didn't
Charlie?
know. There was no dope. There was no booze.
No?
There was nothing. No. What they didn't tell me is when you use like 25 times the recommended dose, it metabolizes into a roid rage.
Well, it's like if you take for your thyroid.
Yeah.
You know, if you take the wrong medicine, it can make you, psychotic. So they can do
like
the
when
same thing.
When you smoke Afrin.
Yes, it's not good. You know what? There's
Whatever.
nothing more fun than Charlie Sheen. I do love him. I love him to death. You can catch Mad Family streaming free on Crackle starting today, and we will be right back. Well, I guess this is the end of the show. This was fun. We laughed a lot, had some laughs, and now it's like the last thought of the day. So we want to send you out. Thank you for coming. We want you to have a great day and take a little time to enjoy the view.